That day started like any other for the young couple, but no premonition could prepare them for the emotional earthquake that was coming. When the door opened, an authoritarian voice echoed through the newly edited apartment, "This room is now mine." Alice froze in place, while Roman, with an embarrassed smile, tried to justify the invasion. "My mother invested her money and will live in income." The decision was already made, and no one had consulted Alice about it. Imagine the scene, a couple who, after 2 years of deprivation, finally conquers the dream of home ownership. No vacation, no dinners away from home, no new clothes, every penny saved to enter that 50 square meter space, which, despite the modest location and 15-year-old mortgage, represented freedom, security, and a future together. Alice tidied the photos on the new nightstand, while Roman, whistling softly, fixed the shelves in the living room. 4 years of marriage, and she never had doubts. He was the right man, affectionate, dedicated, hardworking. Day programmer, freelance at night, all to accelerate the conquest of that home. But there was a shadow in this perfect picture. Helena, the mother-in-law. A 60-year-old woman, widowed for 7, used to dictating rules and treating her child as an extension of herself. When Roman announced the marriage, she faced as a personal betrayal. Alice tried in vain to build a relationship. Each gesture bumped into a wall of cold indifference. "You're not good enough for my son," it was the message not spoken in every critical look. "Where do we put the couch?" Roman asked, interrupting Alice's thoughts. "How about the window? So you get more light to read," she suggested. He agreed with a nod, but the moment of tranquility was broken by the touch of the bell. "Who will it be?" "I told my mother of the new address," admitted Roman, slightly embarrassed. She really wanted to see the apartment. A knot graduated from Alice's stomach, but she forced a smile and opened the door. There was Helena, impeccable in her stressed tailleur, carrying a bulky bag. His eyes traveled Alice from top to bottom, as if evaluated the price of the homemade t-shirt and shorts. "Good afternoon, Helena," Alice greeted, with a cordiality that did not match what she felt. "Enter, please." The mother-in-law entered without taking off her shoes, inspecting each corner as a relentless inspector. "So this is what you did?" he solved, with a tone that mixed disappointment and superiority. "Small, tight." Roman hugged her, ignoring the comment. "Mother, how good you came. You want a tea?" "No, son. I have important news," she answered, with an enigmatic smile. Alice and Roman exchanged intrigued glances. "Feel," Alice invited, indicating the chairs around the table they had just set up. "I sold my apartment," Helena announced solemn. Alice felt the air miss. The mother-in-law lived in a spacious 3-bedroom property, inherited from her parents, in the heart of the city. Why give up such a valuable heritage? "Mom, but why?" stuttered Roman. "At my age, it's time to think about the future," she explained, with an air of those who hold all the answers. A businessman bought for a good value. Part 1 applied, and Part took a dramatic break. "I will use to travel. I always dreamed of knowing the world. First, your father would not leave, then, you were little, now, that is already married, it's my turn." "And where are you going to live?" asked Roman, with a tremor in his voice. Helena turned to Alice, her eyes shining with satisfaction. "Your room is mine now." The words fell like a bomb. Alice felt her face whitish. He sought her husband's eyes, seeking support, but Roman only coughed nervously, and nodded. "Mother applied the money. He will live in income." "Are you kidding?" Alice murmured, the heart freezing. "Of course not, honey," said Helena. "Too sweet to be honest. Everything is already resolved. The second room is mine, you stay in the room. Don't worry, I won't disturb. I'll pass here only a few months a year." Alice turned to Roman, desperate. "We didn't discuss it. Why didn't you consult me?" He shrugged, evasive. "I thought it wouldn't mind. It's my mother. She needs support." "Temporary," repeated Alice, incredulously. "Until getting a definitive place," added Roman, without conviction. Helena was already heading for the room, planning renovations. "This wall goes away. My bed is here. The toucher, there." Alice watched, stunned. That space, which they dreamed of turning into the baby's room after all, They already talked about having a child was now conquered territory. Roman, I need to talk to you, Alice whispered, pulling him to the kitchen. What's going on? He asked, containing the voice not to be heard. We never agreed that your mother would live with us. And our son. Where are you going to sleep? Don't overdo it, Alice, he replied, running his hand over his neck tense. It will only come a few months a year. When the baby arrives, we turn around. How do we expel her or raise our son in the closet? Alice exploded, anger hurting as a blade. That's when Helena appeared at the kitchen door. Children, my bedroom wardrobe is very small. I'll need to use part of the entrance to my things. It was not a while for both on the phone, looking for properties to rent. Helena, comfortably installed on the couch with her tea, watched the rush of Roman with an air of those who do not understand the hurry. Son, for what so much excitement? We fell the three here perfectly. Roman stared at her firmly. Mother, let's not live together. Alice and I will rent something close to visit her. Helena almost choked. What? You're not serious. I am, yes, said Roman, for the first time without hesitation. This apartment is ours, for our family. There is no room for three. But I'm your mother, he protested. Helena, offended. I dedicated my life to you. And now, when do I need me, throw me out? No one is playing anyone, cut Roman. You have made your decisions. Now respect ours. Alice, beside her, breathed relieved. For the first time since the bell had played, he felt his home and his future were still theirs. To the street, Roman answered, with a calm that surprised herself. Did you sell your apartment without consulting anyone, without even warning us, and now you hope we simply accept your decision as a consummate fact? This is not fair, mother. Helena Dmitrievna's face paled, then flushed with fury. All this is her fault, he accused, pointing a trembling finger at Alice. She poisoned you against me. I always knew that this woman wanted to destroy our family. Alice, who heard everything from the kitchen, felt a knot form in her throat. Would Roman believe the mother? Did he once again give in? But then the voice of Roman sounded, firm as never. Mother. He paused, measuring every word. I love her. I love you too. But Alice is my wife, and we are building our family. I regret that you cannot accept this. Let's help you find a place to live. In the meantime, you can stay with us, but only even find something definitive. Helena Dmitrievna got up from the couch as if she had been slapped. His face writhed in a mask of indignation. Ungrateful. He spat, grabbing the bag tightly. After all I did for you. Don't worry, I won't bother. I have friends who value me, unlike my own son. He went to the door, but stopped in the stop, turning with a sharp look. And don't even think about apologizing. This I will never forgive. The door knocked with a crash. The silence that followed was so dense that it seemed to weigh on their shoulders. Roman sank on the couch, covering his face with his hands. Alice S. He got along next to him, not knowing what to say. I didn't expect her to act like this, he murmured finally. Sell the apartment and simply appear here, that's not her. It has always been authoritarian, but not at this point. Maybe you're disoriented, Alice tried, looking for an excuse for her mother-in-law. It may not imagine we would refuse. I don't know, Roman shook his head. But I couldn't allow you to talk to you that way. This is our home, Alice. Our. She hugged him, feeling tears of relief running down his face. For the first time, Roman had chosen them, his family, his future above his mother's demands. That night the phone rang. It was Natalia Igorevna, Alice's mother, with a voice-laden voice. Daughter, do you get an idea of what's going on? Roman's mother just called me, crying, saying that you played her on the street, that now she has nowhere to live. Alice sighed and told everything, without omitting details. Upon hearing the story, Natalia exploded. What a break. And now, what are you going to do? They can't leave an elderly woman in this situation, no matter how wrong she has been. I know, Mother, Alice agreed, although the mother-in-law didn't deserve her compassion at that moment. Roman has tried to call, but she doesn't answer. So find where she is. Call your friends, for relatives. You can't abandon such a person, regardless of what you did. Alice has been looking for, even though she knew her mother couldn't see her. I'll do that. After hours of calls and questions, they found that Helena Dmitrievna was staying with Zinaida Alexandrova, an old friend of school. Roman insisted that they go there immediately. The door was opened by a low woman with warm hair and kind eyes, who received them with a sad smile. She's very shaken, Zinaida confessed low. But among us, I think she exaggerated. One cannot invade the life of such a couple. Helena Dmitrievna was sitting by the window, immovable, like a wax statue. Hearing steps, he turned and his face was a mixture of surprise and resentment. What did you come to do here? He asked cold. Laughing, the old woman who has nowhere to fall dead. Roman sat next to him, ignoring the acid tone. Mom, we were worried. You did not answer the calls. And why would you serve? She snorted. You made it clear that I don't need you anymore. Alice approached with caution. We never said we don't need us. We just want to live our lives. This is not selfishness, it is natural. Natural? Helena Dmitrievna laughed, bitter. So I, who created Roman alone, who spent nights clear when he got sick, who abdicated my life for him. I'm not a family. You will always be my family, Roman interrupted her, with a firmness that admitted no replica. But Alice is my wife, and our children will be. I'm not rejecting you. I'm asking for space. A heavy silence settled. Helena Dmitrievna looked at her hands, as if seeking words that didn't come. And now? His voice was shaking. Where am I going? I sold everything I had. Why? Roman asked finally. Why did you do that? She looked away, embarrassed. I wanted to be close to you, he admitted softly. When I learned that you had bought this apartment so far, I thought you would see you less. That would lose you. Alice felt her heart hurt. Not for pity, but for recognizing in that confession the fear of a woman who, for the first time, saw her son escape from her hands. Mother, Roman held her hand. We will help you find a place. Maybe even close to us. But living together is not an option. Helena Dmitrievna took a deep breath, as if she carries the weight of the world on her shoulders. So finally, he nodded. Maybe. I exaggerated. His voice failed. It's just that I'm afraid of being alone. You're not alone, Roman hugged you. It will never be. We just won't work under the same ceiling. 2 weeks later, they found her a small but cozy apartment, just 10 minutes from her walk from the house. Roman and Alice helped with the reform, chose furniture, hung pictures. Little by little, the tension was dissipating. Helena Dmitrievna even started traveling, something she always postponed for fear of abandoning her son. But between one trip and another, it appeared to visit, without complaining about a room that was not yours. A year later, when Sophia was born, everyone was surprised. Helena Dmitrievna, the woman who once demanded absolute control, became a loving grandmother who drooled her granddaughter and loved to be with her when Alice and Roman needed to leave. Until, one day, Alice caught her doing something unexpected, flipping through old albums, noting something in a notebook. What is that, Helena Dmitrievna? The mother-in-law smiled, almost shy. I'm writing the story of our family to Sophia. I want her to know her ancestors, her lives, her mistakes, hesitated, and how they corrected them. Alice sat next to her, taking a picture, a young Dmitrievna Helena, with little Roman on her lap. You know, the mother-in-law, he said suddenly. I need to apologize. For that day I arrived at your house demanding a room. It was wrong. Alice looked at her, astonished. Never, in all those years, Helena Dmitrievna had admitted a mistake. The pride would not let it, the old woman confessed with a sigh. But now, looking at these photos, I see how I boring Roman. I didn't let him grow. And when he finally grew up, I was afraid of losing him. You'll never lose him, Alice said softly. He loves you. And you. He hesitated. It's a better grandmother than you might think. Helena Dmitrievna covered Alice's hand with her eyes shining. Thanks. Her voice was a whisper. For giving me a second chance. From that day on, everything changed. Helena Dmitrievna is no longer just the difficult mother-in-law. It became complicit, counselor, partner. Together, they prepared Sunday lunches, cared for the garden at the country house they bought, vibrated with every achievement of little Sophia. 5 years later, when Mikhail was born, no one even thought of suggesting that Helena Dmitrievna. He never considered that she should move close to them. Helena Dmitrievna loved her independence, her apartment full of memories, the freedom to welcome her grandchildren when she wanted to or to invite them to a tea on her marble table, where Chinese porcelain cups shone in the afternoon light. The years passed, and what was once a forced relationship became a genuine bond, laughing with the dinners on Friday, with confidences exchanged while the children played in the backyard. It was in one of these afternoons, when Sophia was already discussing politics with her grandmother and Mikhail insisted on learning to make blini the right way, that the past resurfaced. Helena Dmitrievna landed the wooden spoon and looked at Alice with sincerity that only time allows. "You know." Her voice trembled slightly, as if the words still weighed. "That day, I was desperate. I sold the apartment without thinking about the consequences. I wanted to be close to Roman, my only blood, my anchor. But I almost drowned with my fear of losing him. If it were not for his patience and his firmness, everything could have collapsed." Alice held her mother-in-law's hand, her fingers intertwined like roots of a tree that finally found fertile land. "Okay now," he murmured, squeezing her against him. "You no longer have a single blood, Helena. There are 4. And none of us go anywhere." Helena Dmitrievna's eyes filled the water as she saw her grandchildren running around the garden, the laughs echoing like music. Perhaps that impulsive decision, that gesture of despair, had been necessary. Sometimes we need to lose what seems safe to find out that family are neither walls nor square meters, nor control over who we love. Family is Dusanoplamova, a word that does not exist in any dictionary, but which they invented to define what they felt: love that does not suffocate, respect that does not judge, acceptance that does not require masks. And if Helena Dmitrievna had to choose again, she might not change anything. Because, in the end, she didn't lose a house. Won a home.